Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me because I set this up very last minute. Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Ignore the mess. I am in the middle of some projects. And I'm also, I did not expect to be able to live stream. I just wanted to start off this live stream tonight by giving my condolences to my best friends. I grew up with my friends Tom and Josh Parks. And unfortunately, a week ago, their father passed away very suddenly. So I rushed back to Iowa, and yeah, it's been a rough. It's not fun to see your friends hurting. So tonight's stream goes to Ron Parks, for just an incredible life and raising an amazing family, and some of the most influential people in my life. Absolutely. So I just wanted to say that off the bat. I'm sorry if it maybe hasn't hit me that much, but yeah, we're doing it for Ron. I think there's something very magical to me about spaceflight. There's something very important and impactful about spaceflight. There's something that I think it touches people in so many different ways, and and symbolically, I guess for me, seeing something ascend into the heavens. And yeah, my group of friends, it's really unusual. I grew up with a group of friends that we've been all best friends since second grade still. Starting even before, some of them met in preschool. So like literally 5 years old. And we grew up every weekend, spending the night at each other's houses. And I think that's pretty unusual. I think that's pretty special. I don't think, so all of us were kind of raised in a sense by all of our parents, and we're all very close. And yeah, I just wanted to, if there's anything worth a legacy of someone, it's knowing that that people, that the generations you raise and the impact that your life has reaches so much beyond your immediate circles. That yeah, sorry I'm starting off the stream like this. I did. Anyway, let's watch a rocket launch together, because that's what we're here for. So, sorry. Again, I hope I'm not like, I did not expect to be emotional about this. I'm sorry, guys. It totally came out of the blue. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, I honestly, like, I wanted to do this as a distraction to myself, but maybe I wasn't quite ready. But how about, you know what though, honestly, I mean, to me, like this is something that's to me so important. And I know that, part of all of us spending time together, even online, even like this community, the spaceflight community, the YouTube, you guys in YouTube, the Discord people, like it's been amazing. I don't know. I'm in this I'm in this really weird retrospective moment, between us internet people here. I'm working on having the ability to be in Florida pretty much full time. Or maybe like that's the home base. I haven't been home for 7 weeks, actually. That's how much time I've been spending trying to figure that piece out. And yeah, you guys are awesome. And it makes you realize just how much, I don't know, losing a loved one, not even my loved one, my friends losing a loved one, just seeing that just reminds you how important life is. So if your parents are alive, or your close loved ones, your friends, your family, give them a big hug. Just that's what I'm going to say tonight. That's my lesson. That's the lesson. Give them a big hug. Okay, we're doing it for Ron. So this is a special mission because this is the last time that SpaceX is going to be launching the original Dragon capsule. Like the Dragon capsule we've been seeing fly for how long now? I mean, forever. Like since maybe my pre-launch preview tells us about it. But so here is a certain professional tip. This is a little tip between me and you. If you would like to know anything about upcoming rocket launches, you can go to everydayastronaut.com/pre-launch previews, and you can click on a rocket launch, and you can find out all the information you need to know. So this is put together by an amazing team of people that helps me out with so much stuff in the back end. It's just amazing. I'm so fortunate. So tonight's liftoff will be, let's see, March 7th UTC, because it's March 6th locally, but it's going to be taking off at 11:45, which if I have my, let's see if it'll work. Pre-launch preview countdown clock overlay. There we go. Ayo, 23 minutes from right now is when this is currently scheduled to lift off. The mission name, this is CRS-20, so that's a commercial resupply mission. These are kind of the missions that actually made SpaceX who they are, because these are NASA missions. This is NASA hiring SpaceX to fly cargo up to the International Space Station. So that's, that's literally how SpaceX got their start, was because they decided to try to build a Dragon capsule and sell those services to NASA. So this is the last one of that first round of services. The first round of services was up to 20 here, and this is heading to the International Space Station. So the launch provider is SpaceX. This is a SpaceX mission, but the customer for this is NASA. So it's kind of confusing because it's kind of a NASA mission, it's kind of a SpaceX mission. Normally with things like this, the customer is, who pays for it, and it's normally their payload. And then the launch provider is just kind of the ride there. But these are kind of special cases because SpaceX built the Dragon capsule pretty much solely to be able to rendezvous with the International Space Station, resupply the International Space Station. And so it's a NASA mission, but it's also basically purely SpaceX's hardware, which is the whole point of the cargo commercial cruise or commercial resupply contracts, which is really cool. So this is a Falcon 9 Block 5. This is serial number 1059.2. So the .2 is, that means that it's the second flight of this particular booster, which again, remember, SpaceX is currently kind of the only launch provider reflying boosters. So this is only the second flight of this. It's a pretty new booster. Look at that. The launch location, this is coming from Space Launch Complex SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. I still have to get used to saying that, in Florida. That's, of course, formerly Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Same thing, new name, new title, but it's the same place that this is the majority of SpaceX's launches come from Slick 40. And of course, I always say you can tell the difference between a launch at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and a launch at NASA Kennedy Space Center, which are literally, like, of course, right next door, basically the same bit of land, but there's a little, I guess, what would the word, like a kind of like political line there almost in the sand, between the two. But a launch from Kennedy Space Center will be LC-39 or Launch Complex 39. This is SLIC, so Space Launch Complex. That means it's at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and not at NASA Kennedy Space Center. The payload mass is about 2,500 kilograms. Not too bad. Pretty normal for these CRS missions. The spacecraft is going to the International Space Station rendezvous, currently at 408 kilometers. The International Space Station does slightly change its orbits and needs to occasionally reboost. So it can vary between, 200, I mostly know this in miles, down to about 240 miles and up to like 260 miles. So yeah, I'll let you guys do the math on that one. They will be attempting to recover the first stage, and we have something fun to talk about here in a second as far as the first stage recovery goes, because it's actually a really interesting one. This will be landing back at Landing Zone 1, which is so cool. I was supposed to be at this launch, and I've only seen so far in my life, I think I've seen 3 return to launch site landings, and they are unbelievable because you see what at night. So I haven't actually seen a nighttime booster landing, which is one of the things I was looking forward to. But during the day, you literally just see it takes you a while to find it out of the sky because it's way up there, and then all of a sudden you just see this thing, and soon you realize you can see the size of it. You realize you have basically a building falling on top of you, and it's just something. Just absolutely insane. And then finally it lights its engines at the last second. You're like, oh, it's not going to crash on me. Yay. These are awesome missions. The return to launch site stuff is super awesome. All the people, they're getting ready. That's good. Cause I was kind of nervous. There are definitely some weather constraints. So Will they be attempting to recover the fairings? No, because the Dragon capsule does not have fairings. So it's just that simple. Are these fairings new? There are no fairings. So we keep that in there just because it's kind of fun to note. This will be the 23rd and final flight of the original cargo Dragon, the 82nd flight of a Falcon 9. This will tie, is this the mission that will tie the Falcon 9 with the Atlas V? Which is awesome. So in other words, when they launch the next Starlink mission, they will officially catch up to the Atlas V booster, which is nuts. If this lands, we do have to say that because the last booster did not land. This will be, and I'll talk to a little bit more about that in a second. This will be the 50th booster landing, so this will be a big milestone. 33rd reflight of a booster, so again, you're coming up on almost as many reflights as just flights overall, which is crazy. And this is the 5th mission for SpaceX already this year. And here's our wonderful graphic by the one and only Jeff Barrett. And if you need to read the rest of this article for a little more of a rundown, more than what I talked about, there's extra stuff in here. And we need to thank Alex Crouch for helping to put this article together. So everyone say thanks to Alex for putting this together for us. I'm going to pop up over here real quick. Just a little fun tidbit. Elon got on Twitter just about 2 hours ago and said the rocket today, so obviously the booster today, will land in the highest winds ever at Cape Canaveral tonight. This is intentional. This is intentional envelope expansion. So they're just seeing how far they can push the booster. And then Dark Energy Alejandro says, let's hope it doesn't do the same as the last one, which was in reference to Starlink. Officially Starlink Operational 4, but kind of Starlink likely be for a different reason. Interesting. So in other words, we learned actually, we learned quite a bit there. Looks like my stream might be lagging. I'm sorry if it is a little bit. But yeah, if so, in other words, they actually apparently had the wrong wind data, and the booster up in the upper atmosphere does need to try to correct for some of that ahead of time, kind of knowing it would cause the booster to correct in the wrong way. So that seems to be the case. And yeah, it looks like some of these things are on my end here, folks. I might need to do a little restart here of OBS. I wonder, it's dropping frames like crazy. What is going on? I'm throwing this stream together in a hurry, so sorry. All right, guys. Yeah, it looks like my computer is currently absolutely crapping the bed. Is it fixed? Okay. Okay, hopefully it's fixed. That was weird. I don't know if I had to set this all up in a real quick hurry here, guys, so I apologize. Okay, hopefully that's better. Tweaked a few things on my end. It seems like it's better. Okay, hopefully we're nice and stable now. Okay, looks like the official stream is starting, so let me get that pulled up here. And yeah, thanks for bearing with me, guys. Like I said, I apologize. This is kind of like a last minute thing. I did not expect to be able to stream this tonight, so just kind of a bonus stream. So I'm going to try to do the thing where I listen in a lot more. I'll get back to you guys here. And we'll do during the coast phase or whenever. I'll be sticking around. I'll be hanging out. I just want to sit back and watch a rocket launch. It's time to just kind of turn off and enjoy the night. So let's watch it together. Here we go.
It's just after 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, March 6th, and you're looking at a live view of Cape Canaveral's Space Launch Complex 40, where Falcon 9 is about to launch a Dragon spacecraft. Liftoff is targeted for 11:50 p.m. Eastern Time, or 4:50 Coordinated Universal Time. I'm Kate Tice, a Senior Program Reliability Engineer here at SpaceX. It's great to be here with you to cover our 20th commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA. Tonight's mission is a special one as we bid farewell to the first version of our Dragon vehicle, which made its debut in 2012 as the first private spacecraft in history to visit the International Space Station. To this day, Dragon is the only spacecraft currently flying that's capable of transporting significant amounts of cargo to and from Earth. Beginning with CRS-20, we are excited to be flying an upgraded version of Dragon spacecraft that will not only be capable of flying cargo, but also people. For tonight's mission, we're targeting an instantaneous launch window. If we're delayed, scrubbed, or abort for any reason, we will move to our backup launch date, which is currently scheduled for tomorrow at 11:27 p.m. Eastern Time. We're just about to hit the T-minus 13-minute mark and counting, with all systems currently go at both our Cape Canaveral Mission Control Center and our headquarter Mission Control Center here in Hawthorne, California. So let's take a closer look at today's Falcon 9 and Dragon spacecraft out on the pad.
It's definitely not.
My name is Jessie Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX. Tonight, we will be delivering approximately 4,500 pounds of cargo to the space station, including critical materials to support dozens of science and research investigations that will occur on board our orbiting laboratory. We'll go a little bit more into detail on some of that research later on in tonight's webcast. This will be SpaceX's 5th launch this year, and we'll be launching a flight-proven Dragon spacecraft, which flew twice before, back on CRS-10 in 2017 and CRS-16 in 2018. Dragon was designed from the beginning to be reused, so this will be our 3rd mission flying the same vehicle for the 3rd time to the International Space Station. This marks our 9th mission reflying Dragon. We'll also be flying a reused booster, which supported our last CRS mission back in December. To date, we've had 80 successful launches of Falcon 9, and 30 out of that 80 were on reflown boosters, which is almost half of those launches. Tonight, we will be bringing Falcon 9 back to land at Landing Zone 1 in Cape Canaveral for use on future missions. For those keeping count, if we successfully land Falcon 9 tonight, this will mark our 50th booster landing. Above the first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum, or what we call MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry Dragon to its intended orbit, allowing the spacecraft to eventually rendezvous with the space station. With that, let's check in with Kate to get a status update on tonight's mission.
It's T-minus 11 minutes almost, and the SpaceX team is working no significant issues. The go, no-go poll was conducted at T-minus 38 minutes, and propellant loading began shortly thereafter at T-minus 35 minutes. At this point, RP1 is completely loaded on stage 2 and nearly complete on stage 1. Liquid oxygen loading is underway on both stages and will complete at T-minus 2 minutes to launch. We're also loading helium gas into both stages. Falcon 9 uses helium as a pressurant to backfill the propellant tanks as both LOX and RP1 are consumed by the Merlin engines during ascent. Dragon also began its startup sequence at T-minus 35 minutes when it coordinated timing with Falcon 9. It's currently undergoing vehicle health checks, with the next big step at T-minus 8 minutes have been trending in the right direction, so looking good there for now. As with the launch team, Falcon 9, Dragon, and Range are reporting green, and at T-minus 10 minutes on the dot, all systems are currently go.
Tonight's mission will be the last for this version of our Dragon vehicle, which began making trips to the space station back in 2012, becoming the first privately developed spacecraft to do so. Since Dragon's first flight, the spacecraft has spent 520 days attached to the International Space Station. That's almost a year and a half. To date, Dragon has made a total of 20 trips to the station, flying over 95,000 pounds of cargo and returning over 76,000 pounds of cargo back to Earth. In its 8 years of service, Dragon has also delivered some really cool and vital scientific experiments to the orbiting laboratory, and tonight's mission is no different. Dragon will be carrying dozens of research payloads to the space station, including the research in the National Laboratory, operated by the Center for the Advancement of Science in Space, or CASIS. There are more than 20 payloads included on this mission, sponsored by the National Lab. The National Lab payloads represent a diverse group of research investigations, all of which are intended to benefit life here on Earth. Let's take a look at some of the groundbreaking research from CASIS that will be aboard the CRS-20 mission.
Questions so far, guys?
SpaceX's first commercial resupply service is a mission of 2020.
You can always watch these later. We have this linked in the pre-launch preview. How are you guys? I feel like this is it's kind of bittersweet to say goodbye to the old one. Here's something that I still want to find the answer. So if anyone in our Discord knows this, my understanding is the birthing port, the docking port for Dragon 1 is significantly larger because it docks to I'm blanking on it right now. But compared to the Dragon 2 capsule, we'll actually use the IDA, the International Docking Adapter. So it's a smaller diameter. Rumor has it, I swear I read or heard somewhere at some point, that they actually won't be able to send back an EVA suit because the EVA suits have a certain, size, and that the EVA suit can't actually fit through the International Docking Adapter. Is that true? Does anyone know? I would love to know if that's correct, because I have heard that. So this is the last flight. So in other words, this is the last chance really to really be able to bring down or up, or would have been the last chance to bring down or up an EVA suit, because those EVA suits are huge. So if they need to service them, they'll have to send parts up and have a astronaut tech trained to be able to service the EVA suits up, which is just crazy. So yeah, let's see. Is anyone? I have heard that might be true. Yeah, because of course Soyuz is too small, and currently Dragon 1 is the only vehicle with downmass capability, meaning it's the only vehicle currently flying to the International Space Station that can bring down significant downmass. Because of course Soyuz can bring down some downmass, but we're talking about like there are already 3 people crammed in the sardine can, so there's really not a ton of room for additional cargo. But for substantial downmass, Dragon 1 is currently the only vehicle. Dragon 2 will still have downmass capabilities, but because it has a smaller port, it might not be able to do it. I'm aware the suits break down, but I'm pretty sure the actual pack is larger than the diameter of the hole. But we will see.
You can follow @space_station on Twitter for more information on the exciting microgravity research happening on the orbiting lab. We are currently under contract with NASA to resupply the space station through 2024 as a part of our second commercial resupply services contract award. These missions will use the next version of Dragon, which can fly both cargo and people. In fact, this past week we celebrated the 1-year anniversary of Demo 1, which marked the first time a privately developed crew-capable spacecraft visited the space station. Flying NASA astronauts and helping keep the space station fully operational is a top priority for SpaceX, and our first mission with NASA astronauts is coming up later this year. On top of that, we have more exciting news. SpaceX has signed a contract with Axiom Space to fly 4 Axiom crew members on a Crew Dragon flight to and from the International Space Station. Axiom will provide NASA-certified crew training and operational management for the mission, which is set to launch as soon as the second half of 2020. This will be history's first fully private human spaceflight to the space station, and the first in a series of missions that will provide unprecedented access to the orbiting laboratory. All of these missions, whether for NASA astronauts, international astronauts, or for the regular citizen, are all key steps towards making human race multiplanetary.
We're currently just under the T-minute 5-minute mark and counting down to an 11:50 p.m. Eastern launch to the International Space Station. In these last few minutes, Falcon 9 is performing final health checks on its primary communications, avionics, and propulsion systems in preparation for flight. As mentioned earlier, we're currently loading liquid oxygen into the propellant tanks. Fuel loading for both Stage 1 and Stage 2 is now complete. At the T-minus 7-minute mark, we began engine chilling. That's when we inject a small amount of super chilled liquid oxygen to prepare the 9 M1D engine turbopumps for full prop flow during flight. You might hear the call out that engines are sufficiently chilled in later in the countdown. Checkouts of the second stage thrust vector control actuators, or TVCAs as you might hear them called, are now underway. You'll often hear people refer to this as an engine wiggle test. This is when we move the thrust nozzle slightly to make sure that the guidance hardware is go for flight. First stage engines also wiggle, but they do that just seconds before ignition. At T-minus 1 minute, Falcon 9 flight computers will enter startup mode and guide the rocket through the rest of the countdown. The SpaceX launch director gives the go for launch call at T-minus 45 seconds. Finally, a few seconds before liftoff, the engines are ignited. At T0, the rocket is released from the hold-down clamps for liftoff, after which the strongback, which is the white truss section that you see there behind the rocket, that will fully retract away, clearing the way for F9's ascent. Dragon is performing its own final health checkouts to make sure all of its primary systems are ready for its rendezvous with the space station. Range remains green for launch. Weather, Winds are still, we're keeping an eye on those, currently showing at 18 miles per hour from the north-northwest, but still within our limits. So with that, everything is green for takeoff. Just under the 3-minute mark before launch, let's listen into the nets for the last few minutes of terminal count.
Here's the fun part. So I'm going to go ahead and start going totally quiet at T-minus about 140 because I kind of want to hear all the closeouts and stuff like that. It's pretty fun. But yeah, how are you guys? I have a lot of people to thank here when we get a second. I'll probably do that after separation and things like that. But yeah, thank you so much to all you guys who have said hi tonight and for the new members. And you guys are awesome. Yeah. So fun fact, I always like to talk. So I saw someone asking about the lightning towers. So there's 4 towers around this particular launch pad and also Slick 41 where Atlas V launches. There's 4 large towers. Those are lightning towers. Those are just to make sure those conduct more electricity and are more like these. You can see 3 of them in the shot now. This angle is a little confusing because they're
stage 2 lock load is
actually
closed out.
substantially taller than the actual strong back in the rocket itself. And they are there to make sure that lightning strikes one of those instead of striking the rocket, which is super cool. So keep an eye out for those. You'll see them at pretty much all launch pads. 39A has just a single one on top of the fixed service structure. And for some reason, that's enough, I guess. This has 4 separate towers. So let's listen in here on the terminal count. They are now venting. That means it's totally up to pressurized. It's pressured for flight. And they will be venting this now that the vehicle's in closeout. So here we go. We're about ready to go. Oh, baby. Oh, you're right. Vandenberg does not have towers like this. That's a good call. Orientation check real quick before T-1. Pointy end is up. Flamey end is down. We are good to go. I got my report.
Vehicle's in startup. Dragon is in startup.
Here we go. Going quiet. Just listening in.
LD, go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff. Copy DM, Dragon 1.
Right, Dragon 1.
Vehicle is pushing downrange. Not one deep pause.
By Dragon 1. Congrats to all the engineers and people who worked on that beautiful, magnificent beast. On to Dragon 2.
Power and telemetry nominal.
At T plus 45 seconds, Falcon 9 has cleared the towers, and the final Dragon 1 flight is underway. Everything looking nominal
Falcon
for stage
9 is
1.
supersonic.
We heard the call out that the vehicle is supersonic.
Vehicle is experiencing maximum dynamic pressure.
And there we heard the call out for max Q. Coming up next, there are 5 events that will be happening in rapid succession. Main engine cutoff, or as you'll see in the event tracker on the bottom of your screen, MECO. Then stage separation, second engine start, or SES-1, followed by a boost back burn of the first stage and Dragon nose cone deploy. Main engine cutoff for MECO is where all 9 M1D engines on first stage will shut down. This is immediately followed by stage separation, where the first and second stages will separate. A few seconds later, MVAC, or the M Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage, will ignite and begin to boost Dragon to low Earth orbit.
Impact shield started.
So again, MECO, stage SEP, SES-1, all happening in quick succession. Let's tune in.
I love seeing that plume expand. There we go.
Stage separation confirmed.
And there on the right-hand side of your screen, and by the cheers in the crowd behind me, we have visual confirmation of second engine start as that warm glow begins to build around the MVAC nozzle. On the left-hand side of your screen, we have an amazing visual of the first stage as it is performing its boost back burn. Now, this is the first of 3 maneuvers that the first stage will be performing. As Jesse mentioned earlier, we will be landing back at landing zone 1 on the coast of Florida at Cape Canaveral. So the first stage has to completely reorient itself and head back west. It was flying east, now it's going to flip around, head back west towards the Cape during this boost back burn, which should be ending in 5 seconds.
That was gorgeous.
MVAC is looking good. Everything nominal with our temperature and power
Stage
readings
1
there.
boost back shut down.
And we can see on the left-hand side of our screen that the boost back burn has completed.
Jeez.
Second stage looking good as Dragon is on its way to the International Space Station.
Wow. So what you were seeing there, because the stages have separated, you were seeing the second stage engine, the exhaust from that interacting with that first stage that it had left behind. So
Vehicle is on a nominal trajectory.
you know, all this hot exhaust gas at the stage, and that's the stage.
Acquisition of signal in Bermuda.
The gas interacting with the stage as it's like
In
hitting.
order to make its way back to landing zone 1, the first stage executes a series of 3 burns. The first of which you just saw is the boost back burn, and as Kate mentioned, this is meant to slow the rocket down and orient it for re-entry. It also helps Falcon 9 laterally return to the landing zone. Then shortly after this first burn is initiated, the grid fins, which are located near the top of the first stage, are deployed to help guide the rocket during descent. We're not showing a live view of the first stage right now because it's pretty dark, so you can't see it. But what you're seeing on your screen is the second stage continuing on its way to its targeted orbit. So then following the boost back burn, Falcon 9 executes its re-entry burn to slow itself down before hitting the dense part of the atmosphere. And then the last of the 3 burns is the landing burn, which begins just before touchdown, and that's to slow the vehicle down rapidly right before landing. So far, second stage is still looking good. It's T plus 5 minutes, and the second stage is taking Dragon to its targeted orbit. We've had an on-time liftoff just a few minutes ago, and we're just about a minute away from that second burn on the first stage, that entry burn. Again, if we do land our first stage tonight, it will be our 50th landing. Second stage
Vehicle continues to follow
look
nominal trajectory.
And there's that call out for nominal trajectory. If you're just now joining us, it's T plus 6 minutes, and we're about 30 seconds away from the first stage entry burn, which will then be followed by the landing burn and landing of the first stage on our landing zone 1 in Cape Canaveral. Lighting up the ground. Once that entry burn begins, we should be able to see that light up that screen on the left side.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there it is. Entry burn has started. This burn will last about 20 seconds long. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there's those grid fins that you can see on your left-hand screen near the top of the first stage. That's guiding the vehicle
to
the landing zone. And there's that shutdown of that entry burn. So we're just about 40 seconds away or so from the landing burn start. The landing burn will last about 30 seconds before the vehicle touches down.
Remember, this is the strongest winds they'll ever try to land in. They're trying to push the envelope, see if the Falcon 9
Second stage is still looking nominal.
Still successfully land even in strong winds. So here we go. You can see the lights of Florida. That is so cool.
And it is a bit dark since it is nighttime over there in Cape Canaveral,
Stage
but
1 entry
we should
transonic.
be able to get a live view of this landing.
Oh, get ready.
Stage 1 landing burn startup.
And there's that landing burn starting.
Let's see if they can stick it in the wind. Let's see if they can do this. You can see the lights there. Let's see how you deal with strong winds here, my friends. Oh, they got it.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Oh, they nailed it. They still stuck the landing.
And the Falcon has landed for the 50th time in SpaceX history. What an amazing live view all the way to touchdown.
Stage 1 nominal landing confirmed.
What an awesome view of our first stage for the 50th time.
Wow.
Congratulations to the entire SpaceX team for another successful landing. This marks our 50th successful first stage recovery, which is an important part of our commitment to vehicle reusability.
Wow. Wow.
A lot of excitement as we hit yet another milestone here. There's a big crowd in Mission
Nominal
Control behind
orbit
me,
insertion.
as you probably could tell. So at this point, second stage is performing nominally. We had an on-time liftoff from Cape Canaveral, and among all the excitement, we did get the call out for a second engine cutoff. So at this point, we're waiting to hear confirmation of good orbit. And we do have that confirmation. So good orbit has been confirmed, and at this point, second stage has one last major task to perform, and that's to command separation of Dragon, which should be happening in less than a minute from now. Actually, hopefully just in a couple of seconds, now that I'm looking at the timeline. We should have video here. There we can see a view into the Dragon trunk. That is the unpressurized section. Successfully deploying away from second stage. That unpressurized cargo is stuff that is able to be exposed to the vacuum of space. Everything that cannot endure such an environment, we pack into the pressurized section. So coming up in about 2 minutes, we should have solar array deployment. As Jesse mentioned previously, Dragon is carrying tons of cargo to the International Space Station on this mission. A small portion of the cargo represents supplies for the astronauts, things like food and clothing. But most of the cargo represents science going up to the space station. The International Space Station serves as the world's leading laboratory for cutting-edge research and technology development that will enable human and robotic exploration of destinations beyond low Earth orbit, including the Moon and even Mars.
Yeah, there's a lot of ice on the vehicle. It's often, so don't forget, this vehicle is unbelievably cold. It's filled with cryogenic
There on your
propellant.
screen we have a view of the second stage. That was the MVAC engine that has been shut down, obviously, as you can see. As Dragon is moving further away from our second stage, keep in mind that this is just the beginning of its 2-day journey to the space station. Like I said, the next big event we'll have is solar array deployment coming up in under a minute. We'll also have guidance navigation control, or GNC, door opening, but unfortunately we won't see the GNC door opening live, but we will be able to catch solar panel deployment, which is what we're waiting to see on the left-hand side of your screen. Right now the solar arrays are compacted, folded up along the side of the Dragon trunk, and that's the view that we see there on the left.
For a second, they showed the second stage is actually doing a U-turn.
As I've mentioned a couple times tonight, this is the final cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station using the first version of our Dragon vehicle. The upgraded version that we're using next has a different trunk design than the one that we're currently looking at. In the new version, there we have visual confirmation of deployment of the solar arrays. As Dragon stretches its wings for the very last time, I'd like to congratulate the SpaceX and NASA teams that have designed, built, tested, and supported this spacecraft over the last decade. Your hard work has paved the way for the first Crew Dragon flight with NASA astronauts later this year.
Primed and Northwesters report ready for firing.
Dragon is now on its way to the space station. Very exciting day, as you can hear the crowd behind me. Over the next couple of days, Dragon will perform a series of we will perform a series of checks on the vehicle. And when both NASA and SpaceX are ready, we'll initiate a slow approach to the International Space Station, pausing at several checkpoints along the way to ensure crew's safety. When Dragon is within 10 meters of the station, the astronauts aboard will capture Dragon using the station's robotic Canada arm in a process called berthing. Finally, Mission Control in Houston will send commands from the ground to the station's robotic arm to rotate and install Dragon to the Harmony module. Dragon will remain at the space station until the beginning of April before returning to Earth with research and return cargo.
We had an on-time liftoff from Cape Canaveral Space Launch Complex 40, a beautiful ascent and return of our first stage for the 50th time, landed back. We landed the Falcon 9 for the 50th time, and as you just saw on your screen, a beautiful stretching of the last solar array deployment of the first version of Dragon. Dragon's arrival, capture, and installation to the space station will be streamed live on March 9th, starting at 5:30 a.m. Eastern on NASA TV. Dragon will spend about 4 weeks attached to the space station before returning to Earth with cargo and research.
That's going to end our live launch coverage, but we'll be posting mission updates on NASA and SpaceX's social media accounts. We want to give a big thanks to the Range and the Federal Aviation Administration for their support today. And finally, thank all of you, the viewers, for joining us for such an exciting mission tonight. Until next time, have a great weekend.
Sweet. That was, let's do a little recap here, because that was actually a more jam-packed mission than I thought. So, friendly reminder here, this was the last flight of Dragon 1. So there'll still be resupply missions in a second round of contracts, but that was the last Dragon 1 we'll ever see. From now on, there'll be Dragon 2s. We will no longer see the solar panels deploy, because the solar panels deploying, of course, was part of Dragon 1. Dragon 2 has them integrated into the trunk and then has those radiators on the other side. So it's black on one side, those are the solar panels, white on the other, and so they won't have those, extendable solar panels like that. So it's a little more simple system, but I just wanted to remind you guys that this was let's see here. This was the strongest winds they've ever landed in. And let's just take a look at that landing again here. This is pretty cool. They intentionally pushed it kind of beyond their normal envelope. And look at that.
And the Falcon has landed for the 50th time in SpaceX history.
They still stuck the landing, even in a strong wind like that. And let me just remind you, so they had a failure for the last launch, and that was with Starlink 4, again, operational Starlink 4, kind of Starlink 5 launch, hard to determine. SpaceX called it Starlink 4, so we'll call it Starlink 4. That launch actually did fail to land, because it wasn't because any hardware problem with the booster. It was actually because it had the wrong data on the crosswinds and the winds. So I don't know if that means it was correcting in the wrong way, steering opposite of what it needed to do or whatever, but it ended up, by the time it kind of had acquisition of the drone ship, it was just simply too late. So yeah, let's see here. Yeah, that was, sorry, I'm talking to my Discord channel about the about the booster, or about the old European, I thought it was a Japanese HTV vehicle, or which one was it that had downmass capabilities? Because we're going to talk about that here in a second after I say thank you to some people, guys. So first off, again, for all of you, wishing well wishes to my friend Tom and Josh and Ben, their other brother, and Denise, Ron's wife. And Ron, just wanted to say a quick thank you. And I'm going to be, any of the tips you guys send my way tonight, I'm going to hand that off to the Parks family for helping them with travel costs and with hotels and everything. If you missed the beginning of my live stream, I really was not intending to live stream tonight. I had to rush back in town for a funeral of my best friend's father. So thank you guys for the generous tips. I'm going to just pass everything off to the Parks family so that they can, for hotels and stuff. So thank you guys for all the well wishes. It means a lot to me personally, just knowing I have such a strong supportive community that was excited to hang out with me, even though I'm emotionally, I guess, not as prepared for it as I thought. But here, I kind of one of those people, like, stuff always hits me later. So no other vehicle than Soyuz had downmass. Are you sure? There was that thing that had the two flaps in the back. What was that vehicle? What was that vehicle? Not HTV, not ATV. Man, what was that? If anyone knows, let me know. Go to Twitter, I'm hearing. Go to Twitter. Let's find out what's on Twitter. Elon Musk, maybe? Let me just take a little look-see. Pull it up here before. Envelope expanded, says Elon. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Elon basically, this is cool. Oh, I can't do that because I'm not logged in, apparently. All right, well, here's what Elon just said about the landing. Envelope expanded. So that's pretty exciting. That's awesome. It's crazy that they are still pushing the limits and how much that's going to actually impact future landings and things like that. So very, very exciting. But again, let me just recap. Cygnus does not have downmass capability. Yeah, I think it was I thought it was Japanese space agency that had downmass capability. HTV, yeah, I think it was the HTV. Someone asked. We'll get to that in a second. But sorry, I totally went on a random tangent there. But again, I was in the middle of explaining about Ron and his family. So again, thank you guys for your generous tips. I will just be handing whatever tips we get tonight right off to the Parks family to help offset, because funerals are not cheap, and everyone having to fly or drive home all over the country. So yeah, you guys are awesome. And again, I found that community, and that having you guys being here, even while you guys have been putting up with my really bad live streams. This live stream was thrown together last minute still, because I literally flew in last night, was not expecting to live stream tonight, set up stuff really quick while I'm in the middle of something that I'll be talking about very soon to you guys, which is very exciting. A lot of really exciting things, so thank you guys for your patience and for your generosity and for sticking around with me and for putting up with sometimes subpar live streams just to hang out with me. That's insane. So let me give a quick thank you to DP Bronco, Sebas for the new membership, Crazies Man, to Ron's family. Thank you so much, Crazies, and Tobin and Sanders and RJ and Jordan Blake and AMG Wagon and Terrence. Thank you so much. And Airplane, Robert. Yeah. Thank you, Robert. And Trevor for Ron. Yeah. Thank you, Trevor. I didn't even know about Boeing news yet, Trevor. I have been too busy. So, but yeah, thank you for that, Trevor. And Shane, let me, yeah, I'll keep thanking people as it comes, but I'll answer your questions because these are some really good questions. Shane, hey, why are the space shuttle main engines pointed a bit sideways? Doesn't that sideways thrust represent lost delta V? So, Shane, you're right. So I don't know if you're referring to sideways as lined up on the what would actually be the y-axis or the z-axis, because they look like they point out to the sides, like towards the SRBs, kind of. If you're looking at the wings of the craft, they don't really point out sideways too much. They do point mostly straight down, but they do point in towards the giant orange external fuel tank because they have to point up through the center of mass. If they pointed straight up along with the solid rocket boosters, because the center of mass, the bulk of the weight is in those, alongside the solid rocket boosters and inside that massive orange fuel tank. If everything was pointing straight up, because those engines stick out the side, if they pointed straight up, they'd actually pitch the vehicle over. So they have to lean in and point towards the center of mass. And therefore, by pointing towards the center of mass, it lifts the vehicle straight up. And that way they can also gimbal and change their angle to constantly change as the fuel drains, as the vehicle gets lighter. They actually end up kind of pointing more and more and more straight up, which is really cool. They do actually have the ability to flare out a little bit, but maybe that's a way to, in a sense, throttle, because you do get some cosine losses. You get losses if a vehicle has engines pointing other than opposite the direction it's heading. So pretty cool. So let's see here. Hopefully that answers that question. I'm not sure if they were pointed sideways, but they definitely were pointed. Yeah. All right. So Blake, thank you so much for your thoughts, and thank you so much, Blake and T-Town Joe. They are some moving boxes. There are also some fun hardware in certain boxes behind me that I will tell you guys. My Discord channel and patrons, they know all about a lot of the secret behind the scenes things. There's usually some things though that are new developments for you guys. That I'll have to tell you guys about in our next patron. It is now March. I will be doing our March exclusive live stream and keeping you guys up with the next crazy thing. So some pretty exciting stuff. I'll tell you guys about this in probably a little bit of time. Probably in about a month or two. In about 2 months. Yeah, almost exactly 2 months. I'll tell you guys what exactly is going on. So yeah. Someone asking how you get our Discord channel. We've always kept it as an exclusive Patreon perk. That way we keep it. There's already a lot of people in there, and just to keep it high quality, to make sure it's a tight-knit community and we don't get trolls, we've always kept it as a Patreon exclusive perk. So if you want to join our Discord channel, it's patreon.com/everydayastronaut. Let's see. Thank you, Brett and Paul. Thanks to be here. Thank you, Paul, for saying hi. And Mitch, thank you. Cardinal, you're welcome. Trevor, thank you very much. Elcatch, thank you for checking out the content. Roman, how is the Tesla? Well, I still don't have my car back, actually. It just got fixed the day I landed. I had to fly home quick in order to do this. If the car was done one day before, which it was supposed to be done, I would have had no problem. The car is still in Florida. The high voltage battery pack, the full big battery pack, actually got replaced. They also updated my computer to the Hardware 3 computer, which is something that I purchased as full self-driving when I purchased the car. So I'm excited that it is retrofitted now. So the car is back in Florida. So this means next week, Tim's going to be flying to Florida and then driving right home, because I'm going to be spending the month here again, working on some stuff and getting ready to hopefully have more of a permanent more of a permanent presence in Florida. So I'll be telling you guys about that in a second. And as a quick side note, South by Southwest got canceled, unfortunately. So looks like your friend Tim won't have that panel with SpaceX VP of Engineering, Hans Königsmann, and Amy Shiro-Title from Vintage Space, and Emily Calandrelli. I was really looking forward to having that panel. Maybe I should see if we can live stream our own panel, since everyone kind of blocked out those dates. Maybe I should look into that. Maybe we'll do that. All right. So, good question, Roman. And Toho Jedi, thank you so much. The just one more says, thanks, Tim. You need some more money if you're going to hitch a ride. Man, that is still not for me. I will gladly cheer on anyone that's going to space and I'll be a professional space cheerleader. So yeah, that's thank you though. Hunter, Farewell Dragon 1. Absolutely. Dieter, let's bring back the mustache from A Day in the Life of the Everyday Astronaut. That was a big old mustache that I had back then. I think I like this better. C3, thank you so much. Macbeth, thank you. Truck, yeah. Love SpaceX, heck yeah. Kevin, funny for new spacesuit. I haven't touched the old spacesuit in over probably about a year and a half now. It is very much never been touched since for a long time, and that's quite intentional. I kind of replaced the idea of getting a new spacesuit, since it's not really in use, with trying to do the Starman hoodies, and that was a nightmare. that was a bigger nightmare than trying to make a new spacesuit. But yeah, who knew? Who knew? Critical Thinker, thank you. I see you have a different one, but Macbeth. Nothing's for Critical Thinker. Hey Tim, how long will SpaceX continue to provide resupply missions to the ISS? Great question, Critical Thinker. So the first round, there's an expansion, I think, of commercial resupply contract 1, and that's why we got to 20. And now I believe commercial resupply round 2, technically round 2, I believe will be to Dragon 26. I think there's for sure 26 is booked out. So that'll be about 2 more years at this point, and likely that contract will renew. So, yeah. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, it lost its place sometimes. So, great question. So, plan on, I think for sure, resupply missions are set up till 2024. Thank you, guys. There we go, 2024. So, 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years of Dragon. The just one more. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. Renau, good evening. Regarding the EVA suits, what did NASA do during the period between the Shuttle and Dragon? I was actually trying to look that up during the break. There's the HTV and the ATV, automated transfer vehicle, and the there was a vehicle, an HLV. Is that what it was? There was a vehicle that had downmass. The thing is, EVA suits they rarely need to actually come all the way back down to ground. Like, that's only happened maybe once after Luca Parmentano had water in his visor. I think they sent that helmet back, but it's really rare for the full pack to actually need to come back down to Earth. Almost everything is repairable and replaceable in space, right? So I don't really, I don't really know what they did during the period between Shuttle and Dragon, because there was probably a 2-year gap there. Maybe they didn't really worry about it, but during that time they still had Soyuz running with Progress and Soyuz, and there was the JAX's HTV. There we go. HTV had down mass capability, but I don't know if that was, yeah. All right. Great work. Thank you so much. All right. So good question, Renau. Mars, thank you so much. Mars Mountain. Carter, what happened to the second stage after separation? So the second stage after separation does, for low Earth orbit missions like this, it'll actually turn around. And once the Dragon spacecraft is well on its way, there's a big enough separation, they will then do another burn of the main engine and deorbit that second stage, and it will end up burning up in an exclusion zone again, just like launch. It will actually be an exclusion zone in the middle of the Indian Ocean, where no one's allowed, just in case some debris remains. There's definitely some parts of the engine and second stage that would likely survive re-entry. So they actually make sure that no one's in that exclusion zone as well. And then they deorbit it, and they make sure that it doesn't stay up there as space junk. And SpaceX has always been pushing really hard for not having a bunch of space junk. So they don't use explosive bolts. They always use hydraulic pushers, or hydraulic, pneumatic. I don't remember which one specifically, but they use pushers and spring-loaded separatrons, basically, to be able to do all of their separation events. So there isn't additional junk up in space, which is really important. So good question, Carter. Night Fox, thank you for another amazing live stream. Best friends, best wishes to your friends. Absolutely. Thank you, Night Fox. I'm really excited that you guys are being so generous, and we can help. Help with my friends. That is awesome. You guys are great. Elmar, condolences to the family. Thank you. Bradley, thank you so much. And Renau, to be able to show the Parks family, probably not tomorrow at the funeral, but before they leave, I will make sure that they get funds to be able to help with all their travel and gas and flights and all that stuff. So thank you so much, Renau. Michael, Tim, appreciate all you do. Thank you so much, Michael. And other Michael, for Ron, thank you. You of Myrrh, thank you. Kevin, thank you so much. Alex, From Richard Branson and the boys over at r/WSB. That is awesome. Sweet. Thank you so much, Alex. Ryan, thank you, Ryan. That's awesome. Jetty, and Ryan, sorry for the loss of your cousin last year. Man, yeah. So your priorities kind of change a little bit when you, there's always this like kind of reset and shock to your system when something tragic happens. And something like that kind of happened, even though it wasn't nearly as tragic, but when my dad was in the hospital suddenly for heart valve replacement, he already has an artificial heart from a birth defect, and in November it suddenly got infected and had to be like emergent, like ER ambulance, 2-hour ambulance ride up to Mayo Clinic. Had to get his heart valve replaced, and that was a shock for me. That was one of those moments where I just had to pause and just stop and just really think about priorities and think about, what makes me happy, what's a legacy I want to leave, because you kind of stare mortality in the face sometimes, and losing a loved one is always really hard. So I'm sorry for your loss, Ryan. Jetty, thank you. Frank, thanks for the membership. Matthias, thank you very much. Thank you for saying thanks for all your hard work, because I know it looks like lately I get so many comments, people saying, when's your next video coming out? And again, thank you for your patience, because trust me, no one feels that pressure to put out a video more than a YouTuber. Like, as much as their audience pressures them, a YouTuber or content creator will always have that pressure on themselves to get content out. I've been working really hard on what is almost my longest video. Thank God the Aerospike engine cracked 2 hours, because this is not going to crack an hour, or cracked 1 hour. This will not crack an hour, but it's right up there. 56 minutes, I think, is the current cut. And it's a video about how much do rockets pollute. And it's a really good question. And I answer everything you could possibly think to ask, I think, and find all the numbers, read so many studies. This has been a 5-month process for me. This is way more out of my Q zone than like the Aerospike or Raptor engine. So it took a lot longer, took a lot more phone calls, took a lot more, a lot more work, but I'm really excited for it to come out, because I think it'll help. You guys probably have all gotten that question as space fans. You probably, well, these are cool, but man, don't they pollute a lot? And now you'll be able to be like, here you go. Here's the exact answers to what exactly comes out of a rocket. Different fuels, different rocket types, different sizes. How much pollution or like CO2 or carbon depleting or water vapor comes out per kilogram of payload capacity? How about CO2 to passenger ratio? I got you covered. How about how much does a rocket emit in CO2 compared to, say, the airline industry? Yeah, I've got you covered on everything. This will be a really, really fascinating topic. And so many rabbit holes. I was literally changing the script as I'm shooting it, because I was still learning more. So super, 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 super cool. Yeah. So there we go. I'm excited. I'm really excited to get that out. I was hoping to have it out by the end of next week, but that was kind of with my schedule of assuming I was going to be home a little. The schedule change, I'll have 2 more travel days, kind of chewing up a little bit of time, but I really hope to get that video out. If not by the end of next week, for sure, like really soon, maybe like early the week after that. So hopefully like the 15th, 16th, around there. Hopefully I want to have, there's like 2 or 3 videos that I am in the middle of working on too. So I can't wait. Kyle, thank you so much. Marshall, thank you so much. Jacob, thank you. Sly, let's see, where are we? Sly. There's some good stuff, and I promise. Thank you for saying, I can't wait for the exciting news. There's, as Discord knows, there's some really exciting stuff in the works. Let's see. Down mass. Hang on. We got some great, let's see. Dakota in our Discord has a little poster here or a little clip out in our Discord channel. For the International Space Station, there have been periods of time when down mass capability, so the ability to actually bring something down without it burning up in the atmosphere. That's what I mean by down mass. So right now, Dragon is the only vehicle on station with significant down mass. Of course, Soyuz can bring people down, but again, as far as cargo down mass, not much. Following STS-135, the last space shuttle mission in 2011, resulted in the loss of space shuttle's ability to return a payload mass. An increasing concern became returning down mass cargo from low Earth orbit to Earth for subsequent use or analysis. So exactly. So if you have something up there, a project you've been working on for a long time. There's a lot of science on the International Space Station. Sometimes you got to bring that science back to actually analyze it and study it. And so for a while, they did not have much capability. So during this time period, of the 4 space vehicles capable of reaching and delivering cargo to the International Space Station, only the Soyuz could return a very small cargo to Earth. Soyuz downmass was limited by the entire space capsule was filled to the capacity with 3 people. At the time, none of the returning cargo resupplies, the Progress, European ATV, and the JAXA's HTV, could return any downmass cargo for terrestrial use or examination. So it wasn't until Dragon 1 returned and wow, look at John Krause's picture. Han, we got to look at this. This is incredible. Thank you for posting this. This is that picture. That is so freaking cool. Hang on, I got to show you guys this. So this is John Krause, my friend and rocket photographer. This is all of that exhaust hitting. Look at that. So here we go. John Krause. You can see the boost back burn. Boost back burn. So first stage ignition coming in from the bottom here. And then I'm assuming, or that's, that's ignition. Yeah, this is ascent, bottom right, going up. And then you can see spacecraft separation. And then you see the second stage engine ignition. And what you see there, that's boost back burn. And I'm guessing that must be reentry burn going up to the top. That's crazy. Perspective is weird out there because that's an amazing shot. I love seeing all the plume interaction. Very, very, very cool. Unless that could just be second stage interacting with the first stage and then boost back burn. It's really confusing. I'm not sure to the left what all that is. But that's an awesome shot. Great work, John. Always good stuff. Not Heisenberg, thank you. Thank you so much. And Bruce, thanks for the membership. Gary, sorry to hear about your friend. Please consider asking Elon about temporary urban superchargers for the crewed Dragon launch. That is a great idea, Gary. I will absolutely do that because that's going to be there's going to be way too many Teslas down there for crew. That's a great idea. Great idea. Travis, I have an awesome birthday. We share birthdays. That's so cool. Happy birthday just last week, Travis. That's awesome. Happy birthday. Guy McDude, in what way is, hang on, we have, let's see. In what way is Mars better than cislunar space for colonization? This is a great debate, Guy. Wow. There's inherent built-in resources on Mars that do not currently exist in cislunar space. So as far as colonization, you already have a lot of water to work with. Water, of course, can become not only oxygen for yourself, it can also be drinkable water for living. It can also be split up into hydrogen, and you can use hydrogen, you can split it up into hydrogen and oxygen using electrolysis, and then you can extract CO2 from the atmosphere and join hydrogen and CO2 to basically make methane for other rocket fuels, such as methalox. But yeah, there's just having that and having there's not a lot of radiation shielding in Mars' thin atmosphere, but it's better than nothing. So you're starting with just a few more things as far as colonization, as opposed to if you're to have some kind of, Dyson sphere or some other cislunar colony or something like that, you have to bring everything up, basically. There'll be some ability to manufacture things using, say, asteroids or lunar regolith and things like that. But Mars kind of has a built-in starting point. It already has some gravity, and I heard a really interesting fact, or a really interesting talk from Garrett Reisman, who used to work for SpaceX and it also was an astronaut. And he talked about the idea that, we know zero gravity is pretty bad on your bones, and there's a lot of negative effects of zero gravity for long term. And he said we don't have enough time really on the moon to know if even that little bit of gravity helps with bones and bone mass and muscle density and things like that. He said, but we don't really know what happens. Like, is the 38 or is it 38% Mars gravity, is that good enough to literally basically be normal? Like our bones and our bodies will be fine? Is it 38% better than 0G, you know, compared to a full G down here on Earth. Just really interesting. So there's some built-in things like that, but maybe we'll find out that 38% gravity isn't quite enough. Yeah. Which is that's a whole debate there. I would love to talk more about that sometime. Phil, thank you for the membership. Johnny B, Blue Origin may be a sleeping giant. I hope you can cover one of the launches. My condolences to the Parks family. Thank you, Johnny. I've been telling you guys that for a long time. Watch my video about New Glenn that I put out 16 months ago or so. I think it was like December 2018. I just kept saying that. Just you wait and see. These guys are asleep. And I said they're the sleeping giant of the aerospace industry, because people, all they see New Shepard. They see it launch. They go, oh, yeah, wake me up when they're doing something. And I've been telling people for a long time, they've been working on actively developing a vehicle that will be more capable than Falcon Heavy, or about as capable as Falcon Heavy. That's their next vehicle. Like, that's their first real orbital vehicle, will be as capable as Falcon Heavy. That's insane. So just wait. It'll be absolutely bonkers. Oh, man. All right. So, Ryland, I believe it's the HTV-R. It was a concept version of the HTV that had extra capsule that gave it the ability to bring up to 1.6 tons back from space. There we go. Thank you. And I saw that kind of blip in the Discord too. And Michael, don't have much. Thank you. You don't need to do that, but thank you. And you're awesome. Dieter, would love to see a launch vehicle family tree video, heavy on infographics. Track most launch systems back to the V2. I know that would be, even thinking about just trying to do Russian vehicles would be insane. But that would be a really fun video, a full total history of all spacecraft, of all. Do you want to do crewed or uncrewed? But oh man, even crewed would be really fun. And a family tree, seeing what got developed, like even things like what was the one for, well, there's Gemini, there's the mole program, but then there's also Dinosaur, which is a really cool concept that got pretty far along in development before it got. So yeah. All right, guys. I think it's time I head out, because I have a long day ahead of me tomorrow too. So again, I want to thank you guys so much for being with me tonight and spending time with me, and wishing well wishes to the Parks family. Like I said, I will be passing all of this right off to the Parks. So thank you guys so much for your generous tips. I know that, that just makes me so thankful for humans, because there's some good people out there. So, yeah. All right, guys. Again, please stick around for me. I've got a lot of stuff coming. I promise this year, this is going to be one of those things, by the end of the year, you'll see what I've been working on behind the scenes, and you're going to be like, oh, that's why. There's going to be some really cool things. I'm really excited for it. So stay tuned. I'll hopefully be bringing you some awesome coverage live in person soon again, back down in Florida, and hopefully doing some things to make it the best coverage I can possibly do too. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know what other questions you guys have on Twitter or whatever. You can find me and all that stuff. And hug someone you love. That's my sign off tonight. Hug someone you love. And again, Godspeed, Ron. Thanks for the legacy you left. So, all right, everybody. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Bye, everybody.